Hello, everybody. I'm your host, Eric Byrd, here at StopStrugglingNow.com. And tonight, we have to talk about it due to the recent news about the trove of information regarding the IRS and the billionaires not paying but a 0.0% of their tax. And of course, you got to figure out how you don't pay taxes and why you don't have the wealth that they have. Well, now you know. And we're going to talk about it a little bit tonight and anything else you want to talk about. And welcome. Stop Struggling Now gear. Check. And please like, subscribe, and click the bell below so you get the latest updates. Now, let's get to it. Welcome back, and thank you for being here on the Wednesday night live stream. Everybody can watch, but it's members only chat. You'll see it's people with the icon next to their name. And today, as usual, on any live stream, we can talk about anything that you want to talk about. You just have to ask in the chat room, except Wednesdays is member only. Monday and Fridays, it's open. The chat room's open to everybody, but everybody can watch. So tonight, we have to talk about this, ladies and gentlemen. You know I've been talking about this for the last couple of years, sporadically, where I say, hey, you know you're living paycheck to paycheck, and there's reasons why you get to live paycheck to paycheck. Even though you make more money, you still seem to live paycheck to paycheck. At least a lot of people do, especially when you know 70% of the population in America does not have $1,000 in their bank account. 70%. 60% of the American population does not even have $500. 6 out of 10 people don't even have $500 in their bank account. 7 out of 10 do not have $1,000. So you might be asking, hey, how come a lot of people seem to have more than that? Well, that's why credit was invented. But tonight, we have to talk about taxes, ladies and gentlemen, because when you have your taxes siphoned off, you can't use that extra money to make investments. And we're going to talk about the billionaires. I'm going to actually put them up on the screen here. Here goes an article about the secret IRS files, and they released them. Now, the thing is, the American people, all the information is here before you. But the federal government, what are they asking? They're asking who leaked the documents. I understand that is pretty serious, right? Releasing somebody's IRS information, that's like a crime. So they want to know that first. They don't want to fix the wealth gap. So meanwhile, these guys, I'm going to put this article here so you can understand what's happening. These are some of the richest people in the world. And somehow they pay less than 3%. Some of them pay less than 2%. Some of them pay less than 1%, less than 0.5%. People are paying 0.03% tax. That's so minuscule. That is ridiculous. So I'm going to leave this article here for you. But Biden, for instance, he wants to tax the wealthy people a little bit more. But we've talked about that before. But what you have to understand is when you're out here buying something, I don't care what it is, you are paying sales tax, right? You have to keep that in mind. You are paying sales tax. So there's a tax. Even though it's so minor that you've always paid it all your life, you don't realize $2 here, $1.50 there, $7 there, $20 there on everything you buy, 100% pretty much. That adds up. It could be $20, $50, $100 every week that you're not paying attention to, just on what you're out here buying: gas, food, clothes, things of this nature, online. You don't realize how much tax is being siphoned off. Well, the wealthy people do understand this. And that's why, if you really pay attention, there's something that we have to talk about. How many people are out here flexing, buying all this crap, right? Meanwhile, how many billionaires, millionaires do you see out here flexing? They're like, the way they think is paying tax is against their rules. So you have to start thinking like the top 10 percenters as well. You have to start minimizing your tax obligations. That means there's more money in your bank account, more money in your pocket. And with more money means you can use that to make investments, to go for your goals and dreams, start a business, whatever you want to do. But if you start adding it up, I challenge anybody on Friday, or let's call it Saturday of any week, I challenge you to go through what you spent. Not what you spent so much, but from that previous week, Monday through Friday, and then Friday night, and then on Saturday, calculate how much you spent, and then look at the tax that was taken out that you paid. So you might have spent $1,000. Who knows? Let's say. But your taxes could have been $70 to $120, $130. And you don't pay any attention to that. So that's every week that you could have, if you didn't buy those items, some you can't avoid, but a lot of that you can avoid. Not only would you would have the money in your pocket, but you also would have the tax portion in your pocket. So even if you still spent the same $1,000, you can redirect it. Instead, you say, I'm going to spend that kind of money on myself, meaning I'm going to learn something. I'm going to start a business. I'm going to do something that's going to generate income. And you could use that money as well. And then guess what happens? That is a tax write-off against any profits that you make in the future. You see how you just flipped the script? So if I made $5,000, and then I say, well, my startup, well, I won't get into some other IRS rulings, but I'll keep it simple. We made $5,000 profit, but the startup cost us $1,000. Well, guess what? I get to deduct that $1,000 from the $5,000. So now it's considered $4,000 profit. And since it's in a business, that's not in my name. It's an EIN number. Therefore, I'm not taxed on it yet. Right? So my business can buy some things. And by the way, if your business buys something, you get to write off tax, shipping, a lot of other things. All right? When you charge something and they charge you 2-3%, or vice versa, when you receive payments, they charge you 2-3% from a business standpoint, you get to write that off. That's an expense. So there's all these little secrets that, notice I'm saying business related. As a person, they have you hemmed up, ladies and gentlemen. All right, let me see who's in the house. I forgot. Please smash that like button so the YouTube algorithms know we have a live stream going. And I want to thank Curtis Davis, Mr. Financial's in the house. Thank you so much for being here on the Wednesday Night Live with the icon next to his name, because members only can chat tonight with the icon next to their name. So thank you so much for being here. Victor Marrero, he's in the house. Thank you so much for being here as well. He's got his signature line, let's do this. And hello all. Hello there, Victor Marrero, once again. So I want to thank you for being here. And once again, we got to stay focused, ladies and gentlemen. We all have to stay diligent. There is a movement going on, and the movement is pretty serious. If you knew or think that the government or the powers that be, whoever that is, because you have to understand these billionaires, millionaires, they get to lobby the congressmen and bribe them. I mean, what do you call them? Donations? Yeah. So that's what you get to do. Who gets to write the tax codes? Now you know why there's loopholes, right? Because the ordinary poor people aren't writing the tax codes. You can't bribe congressmen and senators. I mean, give donations. Come on now. All right? You guys got to have to wake up here before it's too late. Because if you don't have your foot into some assets, into extra streams of income, one of these days, the door is going to close. And the reason why the door is going to close is because there's going to be haves and have-nots. And unfortunately, once we get into that system, it's going to be very hard because the haves are going to be able to take up more and more of the available assets and wealth. Because if you don't have the income, you're not able to join the party. All right. So you have to understand what this tax is doing to you. So that's why instead of working at a W-2, not instead, but you get your W-2 money from a job. That's fine. You have no control over that 20, 24, 28% they're taking out every year that you're going to be paying. But you do have control when you have a business. And you will notice many of you already know, I've shown the graphs before. When you start making a lot of money, most people start businesses. And therefore, you can shelter your wage. You can shelter your income in a variety of ways. So no matter what, all this talk about taxing the wealthy, taxing the rich, just keep one thing in mind. They're the ones donating to senators and congressmen to bribe them to write the tax codes accordingly. Hell, these guys are sitting in the meetings on the Capitol Hill. They're sitting there telling them, hey, do this, do that. Hey, what about this? What about that? They're doing it just like that. So you have to keep in mind what side of the fence you want to be on, because you have to understand you're getting left behind. These billionaires, millionaires, people that are wealthy, you don't even have to be a millionaire or billionaire. There's a lot of people who make $500,000 a year. They're still top 1%ers though, but that's still a lot of money. And those same people have businesses so they can shelter. They're not going to make $500,000 a year on their W-2. So you got to pay $100,000 to Uncle Sam. They're like, hell no, I'm going to have my business. So then I pay my whatever wage I say I'm going to pay myself. I pay myself. I have other tricks up my sleeve that I can do to avoid paying taxes once you have that type of money coming in, because what are you going to do? You're going to have an accountant. And again, if you think, I'm going to put this back up. If you think Elon Musk, Buffett, and Bezos and Bloomberg and all these guys are going to get in any type of trouble, you guys have another thing coming. All right? Don't be naive. And the reason why I'm saying naive, it may be lack of knowledge, because let me put it to you another way. If you are wealthy, you are not filling out your own IRS files. You're not sending those in. What you have is you have a company, an accounting firm to send in your IRS files. If there's anything wrong with your files, guess who they're coming after? The accounting firm. They're the ones that certified it. They're the ones that said, yes, this is legit. So nothing's going to happen to them, even though the news or whoever might act like it, but nothing's going to happen. That's how you set up the buffer. So you don't really have to worry about anything once you make money or use a CPA or an accounting firm. And of course, if you're a millionaire and billionaire, you use the top accounting firms in the country. The ones that the IRS normally won't come knocking because they know, well, they're all friends. You see what I'm saying? So the wealth gap has to get larger and larger. So your job, if you choose to accept it, that sounds like Mission Impossible, but it's not, is to get your streams of revenue, get your businesses so you are writing yourself whatever amount of money you want to write yourself coming in the door. And by the way, since you get all these tax benefits and write-offs, you don't have to pay nearly as much in taxes as a person under a W-2 making the same equal amount of money. All right? So let's see who else is in the house. Jewel 20 Lady is in the house. Welcome to the Wednesday night live stream. Thank you so much for being here. The members only chat room is in the house. Thank you. Hello, family. That's right. SSN Nation. Wilson Khoo. Good evening, Mr. Byrd and SSN family. 100% facts. Thank you, Wilson Khoo, with the icon next to his name as well. Everybody in chat, will have the icon next to their name tonight. So thank you so much for being here. Everybody else who may have just joined us 15 minutes in, I'm going to say it twice in 15 minutes. Please smash that like button. Why? Because the YouTube gods, they have to smile upon us. I feel like I'm in Egypt right now talking about the sun god. But in this case, it's the YouTube gods. So please do that for us tonight so they know we're here. Now, if anybody wants to talk about the IRS, ask questions about that, anything else, so be it. But let's get into it a little bit further, because I talked about this on the last live stream as well, when I was saying you guys have to start thinking about how you get to keep your money versus giving it to state entities, federal entities. You have to start thinking about that. And the more that you can save and keep in your pocket, the more things you can do. And the more money you make over time as well. So you have to keep this in mind. When you're 20 years old, you make a set. 20 to 30, you make a set amount. 30 to 40 in general, there's an arc. So from the time you're around 25 to around mid 50s, that's your arc. You went up and your income coming in reaches a peak, and then it starts coming back down. All right? That's just the natural way of things. So during these times, you start going up with your income. What do most people do in America? They just buy more stuff. They just get more loans on more stuff. And so you have to start changing your mindset from this 2021 and forward, because the printing of money in America is not good for you. That means inflation is coming. So therefore, you're going to have to stave off inflation, which is going to steal your wealth. So therefore, you have to be like a Bezos and a Musk and all these billionaires, millionaires, and people that are well-to-do, because you need to earn money in 2025 money. So in other words, I can't make $1,000 per month in 2021 and make $1,000 a month in 2025. Taxes are going to go up around the board. Sales taxes, city, state, local taxes, federal taxes. They're going to have to pay this $28 trillion, $30 trillion back, or your grandkids or great-great-grandkids will be. But nonetheless, you're going to have to be like a certain president who said in a 2016, when he said, when people jammed him up saying, hey, you don't pay that much in taxes, he responded with, that's because I'm smart. I can't be mad at him. It's true. But guess what? He's not the only one that can be smart. You can be smart too. You just have to start changing your mindset and say, hey, you know what? Why don't I start thinking about this extra tax that I'm paying and giving to the government freely? Because the government has you fooled, ladies and gentlemen. How many people have heard this before in their lifetime? I'm a patriot. I pay my taxes. You see, that was only designed for the lower class. They want you to feel good about paying taxes. Meanwhile, the people who have all the money, they're trying to pay zero taxes. Think about it. When a baseball, basketball, football team's trying to build a stadium, and you do realize billionaires own the team, because you have to be a billionaire to own sports franchises. And they're sitting there going, well, we don't really want to spend $500 million for this stadium. Why don't we just ask the taxpayers for the money? Why don't you chip in $200, $300 million and we'll put in $200 million, even though it's for us, but we're going to make the people pay. We're going to throw out some new bonds so people will buy the bonds. We'll throw out some higher taxes for the city and county. And, maybe we'll increase the hotel and room tax. So we'll get the building paid for. See what I'm saying, ladies and gentlemen? Doesn't make sense. But, that Uncle Sam got you fooled. It's patriotic to pay taxes. Actually, it's theft. All right, Diesel Mike is in the house. Good evening, SSN Nation. Welcome to the Wednesday night live stream with the member-only chat. The rest of the world can watch, but you have to be a member to chat. Good evening, SSN Nation. That's right. SSN Nation's in the house. That's right. Hold on. Let's get the SSN Nation hat on. Good evening, SSN fam. Let's get it. Moses TV's here in the house from the sunny state of Florida and the icons next to his name as well. Thank you so much for being here once again, Moses. I want to always say Moses Tillman, but now we'll go with the Moses TV, his new YouTube channel. Campbell RPT, welcome to the Wednesday night live stream. Thank you so much for being here. And of course, the icons next to his name. Facts. Billionaires don't pay. They share the cost. Exactly. So imagine the sharing the cost thing. Imagine this. You go down and buy a house, right? Which is the equivalent of them buying a stadium. And you go to the rest of the whole neighborhood and say, hey, you know what? I don't really want to buy this house for 200 grand, but how about we buy it for 100 grand, and that remaining 100 grand, we're just going to tax all of y'all who's in the neighborhood or in this county. That would be ludicrous, right? Well, guess what? That happens all the time, and nobody says jack crap about it, and the government officials sign on and let them do it. Because why? They are promising thousands of jobs. You know, that's how it goes. And so when Amazon wants to go somewhere, they go, oh, yeah, we'll bring in like 10,000 jobs over 10 years. So give us a tax break. See, again, notice, give us tax breaks. See how that works? That's the first go-to. We're going to bring 10,000 jobs, but we're going to get a tax break. We're going to build a new stadium. That's going to bring 10,000 jobs over the next 5 to 10 years. So we got to get a tax break. Who's going to pay that tax break? Guess who, ladies and gentlemen? The 70% that has less than $1,000 in their bank account. That's who's paying it. You getting a clue yet on what side of the fence you need to be on? All right, I'm going to keep repeating it. You need to get on the emerging millionaires side of the fence, because then you start studying things that really matter. And what really matters in America and around the world is, if you don't have any money, no matter where you are, you have problems, right? So the fact that you're not minding and tending to how you can save your money, that is a bad situation. And think about in school. You go from if some people go to preschool, you could go to school since you're 3 years old, 4 years old. Some people up to 17 or 18 years old, depending on their birthday. But let's just keep it simple. Most people are in some sort of school for 12 years. Notice in the school system, none of those 12 years do they mention taxes in a way where you can save on taxes. They give you the roundabout way of going, paying taxes is patriotic. Get a job. Go to school. You guys know the rant. You know the propaganda, right? But nowhere do they start talking about anything about financial literacy, about money, how to save on taxes, how to start a business, how to do anything, even run a checkbook, do expenses for your household. They're not giving you any tools so you can figure out how you're getting abused financially. They want you in debt, illiterate, and pretty much financially dumb. So that is no longer an option. Because why? We have YouTube, ladies and gentlemen. We have social media. There's no reason for anybody to not start learning something. So here's going to be one of the lessons tonight that we've talked about before, and we'll get into it. This is the reality. Exactly. Robbie D, DJ Robbie D from Philly's in the house. Welcome to the Wednesday night live stream. Thank you so much for being here with the icon. What's up, family? That's right. He's in the house, ladies and gentlemen. Learn how to be a millionaire, to pay 15% to 0% taxes, economic freedom. That's it exactly. That is it exactly. Because once you start expanding, then all of a sudden you start going, well, wait a minute. Hold on. So I can move. Wait, let me get that offshore company that has nothing to do with the United States government. Wait a minute. So my business, I'll have money shipped to businesses, to my business offshore. And then I'll pay myself in the bank that I have offshore. You think the federal government's going to be collecting taxes from me? They don't have jurisdiction. They don't know where I'm getting the money from around the world. They don't know I'm cutting myself a check outside the United States. I can exchange money. See, everything is not what it appears to be, ladies and gentlemen. All right? I'm just giving you some playbooks. You might have to run that one back, but that is a thing. Let's talk about something, all right? And Curtis Davis says exactly. Education equals indoctrination. That is it exactly. Again, I'll give you guys a story. I went to college, and I was sitting there in calculus and geology and biology and all this stuff. And I was like, wait, what's this got to do with me doing business? So I'm sitting around here wasting months, years on these freaking electives, essay classes, doing all this crazy nonsense, sociology, psychology. I'll give them for that. I like that part. But nonetheless, had nothing to do with how to do anything with business for 2 years. All right. And no, I don't use calculus. I don't use none of this geometry and all that stuff. All right. Complete waste. Most people just need to know, well, in these days, a calculator works. So, but the point I'm trying to make, you're spending all this time, education, indoctrination into something that you don't need 90% of it, and something that has nothing to do with when you come out here in the workforce and they're taking 24, 28, 20% of your money. They don't talk about this either, where they say, you know what? They don't have a class on this in college. Maybe they do now, but college doesn't even have classes where they go, hey, you know what? Come over here. We got that how to not pay the IRS class. We'll do a whole 3-4 months on that. And then you'll be like, oh, okay. And from that right there, you would be wealthy. Because from the time you're 20, you'll look at the world a whole different way. Because you're going to be sitting there going, hey, how much in tax is that? How much am I giving away in tax? That's my money I work for. From that time on, you wouldn't be blind. You'd be sitting there going, wait a minute, hold on. Where's my business at? I need to start a business. Where's my business at 20? If people were starting their business at 18, 19, 20, they would at least understand how business works. And then you might start being able to create different type of businesses along the way a lot sooner. So these are the kind of things we're talking about. Here we go. Victor Marrero, tax breaks, leverage my 401k, Roth IRA, and expenses to operate current real estate investments. Uncle Sam won't let go. God bless America. That's right. The 401k and the Roth IRA, what he's referring to also is that's where the tax breaks come from. It is true. So when they tell you to put money, you have pre-tax money that goes into a 401k or a Roth IRA. When you pull the money out, it normally a large percentage of it is tax-free, if not all of it. All right. So there are ways. And what he could do, well, actually anybody can do. This is why you have to invest, ladies and gentlemen, in order to save on taxes. This is not about he who has the most gold chains, he who has the most clothes, he who has the most sneakers, he who has the most hats, clothes, cars. You can play that game, but you can only play that game as long as inflation doesn't flare up to ungodly amounts. All right? Because all those objects are going to be worthless, because what's going to happen is all those people who have a 401k, who have a Roth IRA, who has a crypto sitting at Celsius Network. Oh, by the way, get your free $10 of crypto down below if you haven't already from Coinbase. There's a link down below in the description. And you can borrow against these assets. You can borrow against your 401k. You can borrow against your Roth. Non-taxable events, by the way. You can borrow against your stocks. You can borrow against your crypto. You can borrow against your house. All right? You can borrow against a lot of things that are assets. So you have to start thinking a little bit differently. And then when you pay yourself back, that's a non-taxable event versus cashing out in certain things. Cashing your crypto, taking it out. Cashing in your stocks, taking them out. That's taxes you're going to have to pay, depending on a few things. But how much money you make, for starters, annually has something to do with how much you're going to pay. If you're married or single, also has something to do if how much you're going to pay. But nonetheless, the point that he's trying to make is I can now leverage some of my assets, which are 401ks, Roth IRAs, houses, credit cards, stocks, crypto, and leverage means I can borrow 10, 20, 30,000 and then use that to buy assets that pay us, buy a business that pays us, buy a real estate properties that pay us. That's what you want. Start a business, pays us. That's where you want to go with this. So that's what he means. He's been able to leverage that and reduce your taxes at the same time. In debt, desperate, dumb, redirected, busy, entertained, not informed. Curtis Davis, Mr. Financial, that's it exactly. There's a bunch of people being uninformed, entertained, not informed. Ask yourself something. When you go on all these social media platforms, why is it that they have all this fun and games like it's the Roman Empire? Everything is fun and games, right? The first stuff that pops up. I saw something one time about Mr. Beast, and it says, I'll let you buy whatever you want within a triangle. I'm like, okay, this is interesting. But that is on the front page when you go to YouTube. Stuff like that. How I'm pranking somebody. How we're doing just anything but how to get people onto the financial literacy side of things. Because like Curtis Davis just points out, they want you in all of these categories. And that's why the most, one of the iconic, are you not entertained? Right? Some of you might know what movie that is. So that is exactly what you're doing while there's famine in the streets in Rome. They're having people kill each other for entertainment. So people can be entertained and forget all about they're not eating. Crazy stuff. Well, guess what, America and around the world? What do you think these social media apps are doing? Some of them people are using for business, but 70, 80% of people are using it for entertainment and not learning that much. You don't want to be in that category any longer. All right? For the last 20 years, Americans, I'll say 20 years, Americans have been spoiled. What I mean by this is, sure, people know about the Great Depression, or Great Recession, rather, in 2008, 2009. But in the overall scheme of things, that was 2 years out of 20. And the rest of that time, everything has appreciated. If you had bought a house in 2008, 9, it's probably 2 to 3 times more than it was then. If you made any investments in the stock market, then, well, you could be 1,000%, 2,000, 5,000% up. Everything went up. But when there's a great recession, the wealthy people are able to buy all of these assets, a lot of them. But if you don't have the money, you're part of the 60% club, 70% club where you don't have any extra money left over. Then you couldn't have bought a house. You can't buy stocks. You couldn't have bought crypto. You couldn't have done anything. So you get left behind. And guess what? They're printing more money and giving it to guess who? Some of you got some, but the majority, these corporations and businesses and billionaires and millionaires getting hundreds of thousands of dollars, if not millions, right? Straight out. They're not sitting there telling them, oh, hey, hold on, we got 1,500 for you. They're telling you we got 1,500 for you. But the guys who are billionaires, millionaires, who already have businesses on there, they're 5 businesses and each business gets $200,000. They don't need it, but hell, it's free. And guess who gets to pay for it? You, the taxpayer. That's right, the one that's coming out of your W-2. The one that has an LLC and he hasn't changed to an S Corp. And he says, oh, wow, I got $60,000 in profit this year. Well, the LLC guy, guess what? You're going to be paying 15.3% on that $60,000 profit. Right. But if you had an S corp, you wouldn't have paid yourself $60,000. You would have just said, "Well, I'll just pay myself like $20,000." You would have minimized your tax exposure, and that savings you could have actually put into an IRA 401k that your company set up. So again, you keep it at your disposal. You set up a company 401k, company Roth IRA. Then in your articles, you say, rewind, get your notes out. You say, after you have in your articles, you say, we're going to match my employees' investment into our 401k. You can do whatever you want. You can say, I'm going to match 10%, 20%, 50%, 30%, whatever you want to put in there. But imagine I throw in $1,000. The company throws in 300. How about that? The company gets to throw in a certain amount, and the individual can also put a cap on how much you can do. Individually, most of you are at the 6,600 level. But if you have an S corp, guess what? I can put in damn near I can put in $20,000 a year, ladies and gentlemen. All right? I'm just saying, this is how we do it. Oh, by the way, how much is that going to be in taxes? That's right, 0. Are you getting it yet? Because when you invest in an IRA and a 401k, that's a tax write-off, even on a W-2, even though you can only go up to 6,600, I believe it is. All right? So these are the kind of things you got to think about. Institutionalized or imprisonment for not conforming. Exactly. I believe USA is one of 2 nations worldwide that taxes you over worldwide income regardless of your location. The price you pay for being born in the land of the free. Exactly. Victor Marrero. Actually, it's more than 2. It's not true. I thought the same thing. I was like, so what would happen is when I'd go outside of the country and I'd be playing poker back in the day, people from all over the world are at the table with you. So one of my friends were in Aruba, and he won. He came in like 3rd or 4th, and he got like $250,000. And I think he's from Sweden. I think that's where he's from. He goes, oh man, this is peanuts. I was like, what do you mean this is peanuts? What are you talking about? He goes, I got to give up $100,000 and something to the government. I was like, what? I was like, that's crazy. So then we started having that conversation around the table. So one guy's like from Mexico, another guy's from another European country, I mean, it was crazy. Everybody had pretty much the same story. Everybody was like, oh yeah, how much I win, I got to pay. They all said some astronomical numbers. Nobody said anything like 10 grand, 20 grand, 30 grand, 50 grand. Everybody was like, I got to give up $100,000. It's crazy. Crazy. It's even worse outside of the USA. So there's more than 2. Yeah. So that's why Victor Marrero, this land of the free, there's no land of the free anywhere, pretty much. Anywhere that's in a democracy, everybody's getting siphoned. It's crazy. It's crazy. People in the UK too. It's crazy. It's unbelievable, really. That's why there's a situation for the whole world, because the whole world is under the same strict rules. So in case people are not familiar with the numbers, again, I always say this. People think there's a lot more millionaires around and all that. 48 million millionaires, all right, in the world. 3,800 billionaires in the world. 7.6 billion people on the planet. The top 1% in America owns as much as the bottom 50% in wealth. Wrap your head around that. 1% own as much, or actually more than 50%, than the lower 50% in wealth. Now you see why the wealth gap's just going to keep getting bigger. All right. Let's see it. Curtis Davis. They said IG had too many meme stocks. CNBC said it might be bad. Of course, CNBC came up with it. Of course. Think ahead about investment withdrawal strategy upon retirement. Otherwise, Uncle Sam will be fearless on you. That's right. Victor Marrero is exactly right, ladies and gentlemen. This is something, again, they're not teaching you in even high school or elementary. They should already be talking about, hey, right now, even though 40 years later the rules can change, but they should still be talking about it so people can make maneuvers from the time that they're 18, where people would be going, oh, yeah, I got to put money in a 401k. Forget that. I'm going to start a business, and I'm going to put it in my own business 401k, and I'm going to put my investments in my business 401k where my business will match it. And then I can put in more money, $20,000 a year. And if you're married, you get to put in more. All right? So you would know this at 18. So you would have no reason to put your money into a company 401k because you could self-direct it yourself and be able to donate more of your hard-earned money into some wealth vehicle. And by the way, under the present terms, non-taxable when you take it out. So it's growing the whole time from the time you're 18, 19, 20 years old. How many people would like 40 years appreciation? Shall we say, call Warren Buffett, the man who bought a house for $31,000, in case you guys missed that meme that I posted about 50 years ago, 60 years ago. He still has that same house. That's right. The billionaire has a $31,000 house. Obviously, he upgraded it. Let's be real. It's not like he didn't upgrade it, but still, he still lives in the same house. A lot of people could take note of that. All right. So where'd his money go? 401k, ladies and gentlemen. He's mutual funds. He bought businesses. That's it. He used other people's money and invested. Pretty simple. And then he just waited. And it grew over the last 50, 60 years. That's a playbook. All right? Nothing wrong with that playbook. But he understood at an early age, like when he was 23, 22, 21, 20, that's what he knew. From the time he was like 16, 14, he was already studying investing. So he knew when he was 18, 19, 20 where to put his money or park some money and let it sit there and wait on the appreciation or get that dividend money coming in. So if you knew that, that's a beautiful thing. Basketball players in U.S. pay luxury tax sometimes when moving city to city. Exactly, Curtis Davis. Thank you so much for bringing that up. Thank you so much. Because there is a thing. There's an NBA teams. Well, team. I think there's only one NBA team. I can't think if there's no football. Oh, baseball. Yeah, baseball and basketball have teams in Canada. There is something to be said when a person's getting paid, let's call it $5 million a year Canadian in Canada versus $5 million in the United States, depending on what state you live in. So if you live in California, well, you got problems. But if you live in Florida, for instance, no state tax, and then just normal taxes. So some people would say, I get paid more if I'm in Canada. Why? Because you get to keep more. That's just the way it is. All right? That's why you have a house in Canada. So I don't know the Canadian rates, but that's what people used to consider when they played for Toronto or Vancouver back in the day or something like that. So these are certain things. Hockey, by the way, has teams in Canada. So a lot of Americans play for Canadian teams. So there's a way they can finagle the system. All right? So, and again, that's a consideration for basketball, football, any sports figures that make money. That is a consideration when people go, wow, why did the guy sign there? Well, it could have been because the guy signed a, 10-year, $100 million contract, and he's going to go play for the Rams and realizes he's going to have to pay like almost damn near $3 million a year in tax. But he lives in Texas, goes to play for Dallas, comes to play for the Dolphins or Jacksonville or Tampa. He saves $3 million a year. So these are the kind of things you have to think about. And also, how many of you know, I'll give you a perfect example. We have people right now here from Tampa. Ladies and gentlemen, I got to tell you something. You do not realize how many sports figures have a place in Tampa. Why? It's in the state of Florida. You make $10 million. You have no state income tax. You make $10 million in California. You pay 10%. $1 million goes to the state of California. All right? You don't want to save $1 million a year? I think you're going to go buy a $200,000 house here in Florida, right? Although I'm in Georgia now, but I'm just saying. That's why a lot of sports figures have homes. A lot of people who are wealthy have homes in Florida or Texas, because then they can say they're a resident there, and then they do not pay state tax. All right? That's just the way it is. You guys got to get on board. Most of financial life about how you are classified. 700 FICO, high net worth, zip code, not your internal gift. Curtis Davis bringing the heat tonight, getting everybody up on everything. Exactly right. Ladies and gentlemen, 700 FICO score, how you're classified. Guess what? You are classified. We live in a class system, but you guys don't realize it yet. You're happy to pay tax. Soon as you realize you're in a class system and how they're holding you down is they're assigning things to you. First things, number one, you are a subsidiary of the Corporation of the United States. Why? Because you have a Social Security number, and by them giving you a Social Security number, you get to be taxed. So you are a revenue stream for the government. First things first. All right? Now, with that Social Security number, we give you what they call a FICO score. Why? Because we need you to get in debt. And also, let's just say you mess up that debt, we're going to penalize you. So don't think you're getting away with this 1.9%, 0%, 2.9%, because when you messed up your credit, now you're going to be paying 5%, 7%, 8%, 9% for a house. You're going to be getting up there to credit card, 17%, 25%, all this stuff. Go get a car, go get a house, all that. Now you're being scrutinized. They're taking your wealth again, ladies and gentlemen. So they're telling you, go get stuff so you can have a credit score. Then, of course, once you have a certain amount of money, all of a sudden, here comes the banker coming out going, hey, you, John Doe, can we help you? Because we now know you have $250,000 or more in our bank. We need to talk to you. All right? Also, if you don't believe the zip code matters, your zip code matters, ladies and gentlemen, you might want to Google red line. All right? One side of the street could be $1 million homes. The other side of the street, $200,000 homes, because it's in a different zip code. One side of the freeway, $1 million homes. The other side of the freeway, $200,000 homes. Different zip codes. And a lot of people don't believe that your FICO score has anything to do with your zip code. I'm not naive enough to believe that. I'm just saying. So some people might say, hey, how come I pay on time for the last 10 years? My debt utilization's under 10%. How come my credit score is only 730, 720? Meanwhile, another person has the same thing you do, but they live on that side that has $1 million homes, and they're talking my credit FICO is 800. There is something to it, regardless of what they're saying. You're being tracked, ladies and gentlemen. You've been tracked. So when people go, hey, I don't want to give somebody my this or that or another, my information, too late. As soon as you signed on with that IRS number, you already gave up your information. As soon as you go sign up, as soon as you open the bank account, as soon as you bought a car, whatever the case may be, as soon as you buy anything, you're tracked. This thing about going to the bank, depositing $2-3 grand, and I don't want to deposit 10,000, you're tracked. It doesn't matter if it's 10 grand, 3 grand, 5 grand, 1 grand. It's tracked. Don't be naive. All right? They're trying to they're trying to get your money. Bottom line. El Salvador passed a new law today making Bitcoin a legal tender. The first country to step up to the red carpet. President Bucco is all over it. They're red. There we go, ladies and gentlemen. Victor Marrero, thank you so much for bringing that up. That's exactly right, ladies and gentlemen. You heard them. El Salvador is the first country. Why are they the first country? You guys realize crypto is the people's money. By the way, down below, there's Celsius Network and free $10 from Coinbase. But get the Celsius Network link, and I'm going to explain to you in a second. But what this means is, think about this. I call it third world countries, which is not the right appropriate terms any longer. What do they call them? Developing nations now instead of third world countries. El Salvador, any country, India, for instance, who for some reason isn't doing what El Salvador is doing. But you can talk about it all the way. Argentina, you can talk about Venezuela, you can talk about El Salvador. All these countries, the people's money needs to be used. That has to be used. And this will give everybody a leg up because no longer are you going to be subject to inflation. Now, tax, that might be a different story. But the printing of money will not affect you. Your dollar buying power will not be decreased because a government decided to print $2 trillion. All right? So this is why this is major. And I have a feeling, a funny feeling, once they have an influx of billions of dollars, there will be other countries that are third world countries that will do the same thing. But keep in mind, governments do not want people to be able to hold their own currency or own money. They want you to put it in a bank because then they can track you and they can take it whenever they want to. Ask somebody in Venezuela, ask somebody in 1930s Great Depression when the banks closed and took people's money. In case you don't know about that, Google Great Depression and banks closing. Not for 1 hour, not for 1 day. All right? And one day we could have the same thing again where the ATM machines are turned off, your ATM card and debit cards turned off, your credit cards turned off. This is why they're doing this slowly but surely, trying to figure out how they can hold people's crypto. And the banks in America, all of a sudden, they got the bright idea. They're like, wait a minute. People already trust us to hold their money. They also trust us with their safe deposit boxes holding whatever. And most of us have a brokerage firm, so they trust us by their investments. Why not just say we'll just hold their crypto so we can steal it if necessary? Think about it. Think about it. All right? Philly D might know what I'm talking about when I'm going think about it. A rap song. Curtis Davis, many New Yorkers make $200K, but taxes are yeah, they got to give up. Yeah, they're giving up. That's $20K out the box, straight up to the state of New York. Then they're going to pay another federally wise. Depends on how they make it. If it's W-2, then that's another 50, 60K. Yeah, so they're down to 120K, and they live in place that they got to pay $4,000 a month for a little studio apartment. I mean, half their salary in rent, and that leaves 50 grand. What could go wrong? Man. Victor, yes, it will spread. Exactly. It is going to spread. Lots of love. As you deposit each month, they calculate your taxes if you are W-2. Exactly. Exactly. They want you to forget 1930s. That's it. Exactly. It's long over. They don't even talk about it anymore. It's 100 years later. The great monetary theory has been worked on. All right. Let's get back to taxes. If anybody wants to talk about taxes, let me know, because I'm not a financial advisor. I'm not an accountant. I'm not a tax professional. But I'm leading you down a path where you can actually talk to somebody and be like, hey, this guy said, can I do that? Or Google's your friend. Probably on Google by now, because this is something that everybody can do. And it's probably some other people talking about on YouTube as well. Because not everybody charges a course to tell you this information, so you might have that, right? So just think about it. Save on taxes means more money in your pocket, which in turn means you can use that money for investments. Not to go out here on a vacation to waste 2, 3, 4, 5 G's, but how about using that money to invest and then sit back and relax and just keep investing, using the Warren Buffett method. Now, I know some of you are sitting there going, this is the microwave, generation, where you're sitting there going, no, if I invest $100, I want 1,000 in a week. I understand that because it's been happening a lot in the last 5 years. But that's not normal. And they're about to shut that down. As soon as they start raising interest rates, it's inevitable. Inflation, they have no choice. The Feds only have a few moves. They're not as smart as people think they are. That's why this is easy to predict. All right? Just like we were saying last year. But the Feds came up with 0% interest rates just so they could save themselves for another year. But inflation now is rearing its ugly head and people are noticing. So that's how we got to do it, ladies and gentlemen. All right. In movie, Blow. That's it. Johnny Depp, the Panamanian government took his safe money. Exactly. That's exactly right. And that's why they don't want people to have Bitcoin. Because once you move it into an off-a-line wallet, you walk around, you're the bank. They can't steal it. And that's scary. Because if you have, let's say some people have crypto $1 million. It's not sitting in a bank like it normally would. It's not sitting in a brokerage account like it normally would. So people are the banks, the governments are a little weary. They don't want people to be able to control their own money like that. And it'll be untrackable, especially if you can pay people in the same funds. Plus, they have 3 to 5 years recalculate tax obligations. Exactly. Victor M. That is good news about El Salvador from Wilson Khoo. Exactly, ladies and gentlemen. Exactly. So anyhow, we're an hour, 57 minutes in. Please smash that like button. And once again, if you like what we're talking about, please subscribe to the channel because we talk about this and so much more. Down below, get your free shares of stock from Robinhood and Webull. All right. And today I did a sale. I sold stock for the first time in a year almost. Well, I don't even know. I usually don't sell stock, but I sold some losers. That's right. Not everybody who buys stocks wins all the time. So I had some negatives. So I said, you know what? I'm not even going to buy anymore. Why? Because of Bitcoin. Because of El Salvador. Because of the price dropped down to $33,000 down yesterday. All of a sudden, it's up to 35, 36, gained about 7, 8% in one day. This is what these movements are crazy. So I said, you know what? I'd rather take this appreciation from this other asset, Bitcoin, crypto. So I invested some of those L's into crypto and promptly got about 7, 8% on my money. And in some regards, I was just negative 1%, negative 5%, negative 3%. So I done wiped that all out. So we came back. But I do have to get back to 12%, though, just so you guys know. So I need Bitcoin to get up to 38. And then I'll be back to where the negatives are back to even. And the ones that I have profit on, well, we get to keep the profit. Like Shimiente always says. Take the profit and run. They very concerned whether BTC was a security or currency. They're moving it away from OCs. Exactly. Because the United States government, how they're going to trap you, they're going to do just what they do with China. Chinese citizens. They're going to lock you down. So every transaction out of your bank account all has to be digital. They'll lock you down. So then that way they can trace every last dollar and who you sent it to. And who you're receiving it from. And then they can tax you as well. Whereas right now, I can have a wallet outside the United States that the United States government has nothing to do with. I can load my money on another location outside the United States banking system. The money is no longer trackable. Therefore, you can't tax me. Imagine that. All right. The wealth game is about appreciation from asset to asset and cash back to assets. Exactly. That's how we do it. People have been wondering why, as banks, we put our money in your bank and you guys use our money to make money and you still charge us monthly fees. That's exactly right, Wilson Khoo. So now they're going to lose that cash cow from now on. That's right. That's exactly right. So let's get into, since I started out this taxes, who wants to pay taxes? Let's go negative optioning people, and now they are pissed. Exactly. Exactly, Wilson Khoo. Let's go into some taxes. I gave you guys a little hint on how to do it. When you start your business, you make around $50,000 in profit during the course of a year. You generally want to change your LLC into an S Corp. I have a video. You can search the channel for an S Corp video, and I go over the numbers. if you can hear me, we're back. From Philly in the Georgia. So the power went out. So you know what that means. Wi-Fi is going to have to. So actually, I'm not even running it. We got problems. Hold on. All right. They're running me on, now I'm running on, we got all kind of problems tonight. Reset on the airplane mode. All right. Here we go, ladies and gentlemen. We're back. All right. Well, the powers that be didn't like that by solar panels. The power that be didn't like this tax talk. All right. Hold on. Let's see. By solar panels. Yeah, I'm using the hotspot right now. But the lights are back on, as you can see, but the modem is still resetting. So I just hooked up to my hotspot. Hopefully we still got, you guys can still check it out. Yeah, solar panels, $20,000. But no, not my house. So I wouldn't be adding solar panels, unfortunately. All right, that's it. Our company senior leaders have to pay business tax when traveling to other states for business, getting jammed up from all directions. Some selected to let go the U.S. Exactly. Victor Marrero. Yeah, there are a lot of people that are wealthy who silently said, I don't want to be a U.S. citizen any longer. That means they're out from underneath the tax codes. One of the partners at Facebook is one of them. I cannot blame anybody, because if you can find one of these countries where you can live, you can just basically say, okay, here's my 50,000 or 100,000 entry fee. Can be a citizen of your country, and then they say, and pick the country that pays zero tax. It's a wrap. So now you can make your money in the United States. As soon as you take it out, you're not going to be taxed on it. So wild. And that's even wilder from a business perspective. Just like when you sell items, just like people who sell on eBay, Amazon, and things like that. And back in the day, we used to be able to just sell something. It didn't matter where it was. There was no tax. Now they have it where each state collects their percentage of tax from the sale, because the customer lives in Nebraska and your company in Florida, but you sold to the person in Nebraska. Now you're supposed to break off Nebraska tax. It's crazy. Wealth being stolen. They're spying on you. See what happens when you talk about taxes, Moses TV. Exactly. Taxes were never supposed to be burdened on those seas. Only wartime needs. Exactly, Curtis Davis. Exactly. And because and during wartime, during the Great Depression, I'll say, that's when they came up with the slogan, it's patriotic to pay your taxes. When in fact, people didn't even have taxes before. It's crazy. So it's siphoning your wealth, taking away what you could be using for you, your family, your generations of wealth is being stolen on a daily basis. And I mean daily, because most people buy something daily. So even if I go buy a cup of coffee and they charge me $1, I'm going to pay 3 cents, 5 cents, 10 cents, whatever the case may be, in tax. And it just keeps going. So you're going to have to determine if you want to be rich and wealthy, or do you want to be at least not having to worry about living paycheck to paycheck like 70% of the population. That's a large percent of the population when you start thinking about it. That's over 200 million people. Well, in theory, it's 200 million people, because if we really start talking about it, 200 million people aren't even employed. So there you have it. But 200 million people definitely will not have $1,000 in their bank account, or like 230, 240. So again, I'm going to say some things that people don't like. So when people are out here flossing around, doing all this stuff, in my head, all I'm sitting there like is 7 out of 10 people that I just walk by, on average, don't have $1,000 in their bank account. But yet, 7 out of 10 people, when you see them get in a car, they all have cars that are like 5 years or newer. It's crazy. It's really crazy. All right. This goes back to, should we have a consumption tax or current tax system? There you go. There you go. There you go. See, therein lies the situation right there, because they don't want a consumption tax. That's a problem. I prefer a consumption tax, personally, if we're trying to make everything even. I mean, that's the way it should be, right? If somebody wants to go out here and buy $1 million yacht, I don't care if you bought it for your business or bought it for personal use. Tax, right? And I'm not talking about some other stupid tax like they're doing on solar panels and electric vehicles, where they're doing some extra tax on you, or the gas guzzler tax and all that nonsense. You know, I'm not talking about that. I'm just talking about straight up. A guy buys a, $2 million toy, he got to pay the taxes, right? No matter what it is. So now we already pay taxes on everything. We pay taxes on when we buy a car. There's tax. You buy a boat, there's tax. Except when I buy a boat, it's for my business to entertain clients. So then I get to write it off, right? Under our present tax system. Consumption tax just means I'm just going to pay tax anyhow. There's no writing it off. So money goes in the coffers of the government, period. So I personally like that, as far as I'm concerned. Education is wealth. Exactly. Exactly. That's it, exactly. Because if you're not educated, financially literate, financially getting up on the financial tax systems and monetary systems, and you're just going through life saying, okay, I'm just putting my money in the 401k and I'm not doing anything else, you're leaving a lot of money on the table. A lot. And so I like I said, you guys know I have friends that they work for 30, 34 years, 33 years. And because they live in the state of California, they were fortunate enough to retire, but they're still around 60. So the thing is, yeah, they have in their 401k like over $1 million. But there's one problem that people don't realize. What's the cost of living right now? So you retire right now, you have $1 million in your account. Let's call it you're 60 years old. So if you live to another 20 years, which is 80, which is real possible these days, because there's ways you can, take care of yourself a lot better than 30 years ago. That's really only $50,000 a year that you have to spend. And if you're not investing anything and you're just withdrawing, then you're going to have to pay tax on some of that money, by the way. All right. So that we all know $50,000 a year right now is nothing. You can imagine 5 to 10 years from now what $50,000 is going to buy. It's going to be a hell of a lot less. So that $1 million is not going to be enough if you get to live an extra 20 years past 60. So those are the kind of things that a lot of people aren't taught. They don't think about. Everybody goes, I want $1 million. I want $2 million. I want all this money. But what you're not understanding is you're not in the cycle. Remember, I was starting out this conversation about your highest earning years. It's not when you're 60 years old. All right. Most people, it's not. You're on the downside. It's not like you can go out and get a job that's going to be a high paying job. So you're pretty much stuck at what you have invested and what you have going on. And that's why a lot of people have businesses when they're in their 60s, because they still are generating revenue far exceeding what they were getting as an employee. So you can pay less tax. That's how you have to do it, ladies and gentlemen. All right. So as Jewel 20 Lady said, education is wealth. Right. Roll downhill. No studies, no applied financial wealth principles. You get screwed. Exactly. 401k, a tool to retake taxes again. Exactly. That's exactly right. 70% of Americans have less than 1K in savings. 21% of these have zero emergency funds. I didn't want to get to those dire numbers about the zero, because once people start realizing 1 in 5, zero emergency funds, that is pretty serious. Real serious. 60, 70 million people do not have any emergency fund. These percentages are stunning. Our education system failed us for not teaching investing early on. Exactly, Victor Marrero. Hey, I'm just going to say it like it is. A lot of people, look, some people don't realize school does have its advantages. So a lot of kids, I hate to say it this way, but I'm going to have to. You know, we keep it real up here. So when people get out of college and they go to a school, let's say I want to go to an Ivy League school. Okay, when I was growing up, I wanted to go to Princeton. Not realizing it was an Ivy League school, but I still wanted to go to Princeton because I used to live in Jersey. So come to find out, when they started doing this affirmative action sort of thing where they allow minorities into these colleges without whatever restrictions they came up with, people started getting a little anxious about that. And what people didn't realize was it wasn't anxious because they're minorities. It was anxious because it's a good old boys club. You guys don't understand, possibly. Some of you may not understand. When you were at these Ivy League schools, you know whose kids are going there? The Fortune 500 company executives and presidents and CEOs, the billionaires and millionaires' children and associates' children are all going to these schools. And now you have minorities who are part of this 70% who don't have even $1,000 in their bank account. They have their kids going to these schools. Yes, the kids are smart. Yes, they get into the school. But what this also happens to do, these people are now hanging around and they're hearing at the lunch counter in the dorm room, they hear these guys going, hey, you know what? I bought this stock today. My dad said, my grandfather said, oh, they own this mortgage broker company over here. They own this brokerage company. And they said they're having a meeting and they're doing this. And you're like, as a minority, you're like, what's going on around here? Then you find out these kids, when they graduate, they have a whole different mindset. And they have jobs waiting for them. And not just any old $40,000 a year job. And you find out when you're going to an Ivy League school, you find out how to do presentations to secure funding. So now it's no big deal. You're not out here in the open public going, how do I secure funding and winging it? You already have secured funding while you're in the college, because you have amongst you people that are in the top 1%. And somebody says, hey, can I get $3 million? Well, when somebody has a few billion and their kid's your friend, they might invest $1 million or $2 million to get you started. That is a big leap from an ordinary person who started at the 30,000, 50,000, 70,000 household type income level. And all of a sudden now you're hanging out with people who have millions of dollar income household levels and they talk a different language. That's the reason why they didn't want minorities coming. And of course, America is a racist country to begin with. But the point is, that is the major thing, because once you're in there and you're listening to all this, you're sitting there going, wait a minute. These guys aren't out here buying all this crazy stuff. They're over here buying assets with all their money. They're buying businesses. They're trying to figure out how to use their money to make money while they sleep. The whole time. That's their conversations. They're not sitting there going, oh yeah, I'm gonna go buy a Lambo this weekend. That ain't the conversation. Come on. All right. Stop struggling now, ladies and gentlemen. SSN Nation. You check out the videos here and please smash that like button if you've come back, because we came back from the dead. It's rainy night in Georgia and the lights went out. So we have a reboot and I had to run on my phone. All right, hold on. I missed somebody. Hold on a second before we get back to Victor Marrero. Ultimately, fire movement. People eventually leave U.S. country because the truth about money problem, taxes in U.S. becomes too bold here. Exactly. Exactly. I can't blame anybody for leaving the country and going living their best life. Most people are 200 spent to 100 earned. Not a good place for them, but great for banks. Exactly, Wilson Khoo. Exactly. You guys know how many trillions of dollars people are in debt? The United States, it's at an all-time high. All right? That's how much debt is out there. Wilson Khoo, facts, negative equity. Exactly. Curtis Davis, I love that fire movement. This is a good example of what we can do by investing early on and leveraging the power of compounding over time. Couldn't have said it any other, Victor Marrero. Thank you so much for saying that, because that's exactly what it is. Compounding over time. The earlier, the better. LOL, Curtis Davis, funding secured by association of connections. Exactly. That's why you have this Stanfords and, the MITs and all the, the Harvards and the Yales and the Columbias and the USCs and UCLAs and all kind of things are going on. I'm going to give you guys a little story. I get around. So California kid, I'm up at Big Bear. Actually, I'm in Lake Arrowhead. Lake Arrowhead is before you get to Big Bear. As you go up the mountain, you get to Lake Arrowhead first. Lake Arrowhead is just a small little pond, but it's so cool. Nobody hangs out there, so it's nice and quiet, peaceful in the pines. Everything's lovely. So I'm hanging out up there, and I can't even remember. You know how when you hang out places, speaking of hanging out and connections and people are there. So I'm hanging out there, and one of the actors from TV, NCIS, his house is on this little corner overlooking the lake. So whoever I'm with, I can't remember because this was years ago, and they're like, hey, come on, man, we're going to go to the lodge. So I'm thinking that's all they said, going over to the lodge. So I'm thinking lodge, you know what a lodge is. That means where there's a restaurant, where there's like a hotel maybe, or, there might be some shooting pool, whatever. So we go around the lake a little bit. All of a sudden I'm pulling up, and I'm like, okay, this is interesting because there's a helicopter pad right here. Come to find out, it was the freaking lodge for freaking USC alumni lodge. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, USC Alumni Lodge have their own lodge, members only, that can go to this place. Talk about hanging out, connections, talk, their own helicopter pad. I was like, oh, man, these guys are everywhere. The top 1%ers got their own little spots, their own little clubs, their own little connection club. So it isn't only colleges, even though that was USC and it's a college, but I'm just pointing out alumni. All right? So this could be Harvard, this could be Yale, this could be any Stanford, it could be all of them are doing the same thing. So there is something to be said about being in the top 10%, because who you hang out with and who you meet opens doors. All right? So just keep that in mind. That has something to do with the taxes, because you're Kentucky tax. And then they're going to say, hey, you might want to talk to my accountant. So their accountant is going to be the guy that handles the $1 million personnel. The other people's accountant are the guy that handles the $50,000 to $100,000 personnel normally. Which accountant do you want? I'm just saying. All right? All right, Eric. That SSN Nation hat is fire. Thank you so much. You know where to get it. StopStrugglingNow.com. And go see the SSN merchandise. It's all there. In black and white. I think. I can't remember. I don't think there's a black one in this. But it's all right. We have the white one. We have black in CEO of My Life, and black in F Average, Be Legendary, black and white. So thank you so much, Charlie. Welcome to the Wednesday night live stream. Thank you so much for being here once again. And the icon next to her name. You're in the room with top 10%ers. Like, how did you get in here? Darn it. That's right. That's exactly right. What's up, Charlie? All right, I'll give you guys another story. I got a lot. High net worth accountant, my tennis partner, friend. Exactly. Exactly. There you go. Give you guys another story since Curtis Davis brought this up. There was something called the Best of Sacramento. That used to be like Best of Sacramento, where people basically come in, black tie affair, right? So I can't remember how much it cost to get in or whatever. But speaking of how Curtis Davis put this right here, this is what has the story. So I'm at the Best of Sacramento, black tie affair, and needless to say, things go according to how America is, right? Minimal amount of minorities in the room, and that's the standard, right? Because most people who are going, it costs, I don't even know, thousands of dollars to get in, and it's a charity type thing and whatever, and we're in Sacramento. So I'm in the joint. Now, you guys have to understand, you guys see me in t-shirts, stop struggling now gear, all this stuff. Well, there's this thing I usually have clothes that most people don't see when I used to dress up. So I had a tuxedo that was something that most people hadn't seen before. So now I'm in the joint and I'm getting my champagne fountain and all that stuff over there and minding my own business because I only know like 3 or 4 people in the joint. And then finally some group, 3, 4 guys come up and they're just like, hey, we're noticing that you got a nice tuxedo on. I was like, yeah, special made. And then, of course, that question comes up. So, what's your name? What do you do? What's going on? You know anybody else around here? All that starts happening. And in stories, and the story ends going, they're like, all start handing me their cards. They're like, here, you got to call me. Here, you got to call me. Here, we got to do business. I'm like, okay, whatever. I was doing big things, so it was kind of funny. But I didn't know those guys. They never seen me before because I was just like, oh, I'm just going to go here for fun. I got invited, rolling in, and I won't say much else, but I'm in there along with a companion. And then all of a sudden, these guys are coming up like, who's this guy? What's he doing? How's he in here? What's going on? He's like, don't even care about us. And he's hanging out with only these few guys. And one of the guys that I did know was one of the owners of the Sacramento Kings. So he was there too. So they saw me talk to him for like 2 minutes. Because I mean, even though I know him, I roll in his office and talk to him anytime I want. So it's kind of like, what's up, man? What you doing? How's it going? Whatever. Now I go to the fountain. All of a sudden, people are like, who's this guy? So it does matter where you're at. All right. In my humble opinion, middle class people snooze at club because they trying to get their kids in Ivy League via scholarship. Modern Rome. Exactly, Curtis Davis. That's exactly right. Exactly. That's exactly right. Because that's pretty much the only, way you can go. You can get athletic scholarship. You can get education scholarships. You can get grants. But most of the time, middle class people are snoozing because they're happy just to have the opportunity. And then it's what you make of the opportunity that really matters. And that also will change the trajectory of your life because then you start thinking of things in a little bit different way. Because again, when you're hanging out with, we'll call them what Curtis Davis called high net worth individuals, they're not sitting around talking about, hey, did you see what was on TV on his TV show the other night? I mean, that's not even a thing. They're not sitting there talking about, hey, did you see that guy on, YouTube? They're like, that's not a thing. They're talking about, hey, you know what? They're going to build a mall downtown. Hey, but you know what? They don't have enough parking for that. Who's got the parking contract? Nobody. What? Oh, how do we get on the bid on this? I mean, these are the type of conversations you're having. You're not having this other okie dokie nonsense. You're just, everybody's, even though it's friendly, how you doing and all that, but most of the time it's like it's connection. It's all about, hey, I see you over there and I know you're doing a project. What's up? We're in the same room, same thing. Now they're willing to talk to you versus if you saw them on the street and you sit there and say, hey, I know you're doing something in this building. You guys know, some of you in the music business, and you see some music people, whether it's a producer, whether it's an artist or whatever, and you try to give them your stuff, and they might take it, but 9 times out of 10, they don't listen to it. But if you're at the Grammy Awards backstage with them, now all of a sudden that tape that you hand them, they might be listening. You see what I'm saying? There's different ways you can go about this. All right. It's sad. The country club, you can create your own wealth. Exactly. When I joined private club parties, B2B was always the conversation. Exactly. That's exactly right. That's exactly right. They're not wasting their time with this other stuff because the other stuff doesn't really matter in the overall scheme of things. They're just trying to preserve their family's wealth. They're trying to preserve whatever they can going forward, unless your last name is Vanderbilt. And some of you might not know what I'm talking about. But there used to be a family called Vanderbilts, which is just like a Ford, just like a Kennedy, just like a Carnegie, had that kind of money. In fact, the guy was one of the richest people in the world at one point. This is like in the 1920s, 1890s, things like that. But due to family not wanting to be in the family business, nor talk about the family business, the heirs, they were middle class, even though they had these Park Avenue homes and estates all around the world, but they didn't have anybody that was educated, nor did they care. They all knew they were trust fund kids, and so all they did was just siphon off the money, and nobody wanted to keep the wealth. That's why you don't hear of the Vanderbilts. In fact, if you watch CNN, Anderson Cooper is a Vanderbilt. His mom is Gloria Vanderbilt. Yes, he's on CNN. And that's because the Vanderbilt family lost their wealth. Because then nobody was the student. Nobody wanted to hold the money and keep going forward. So those are the kind of lessons that you can learn. If a family that had one of the richest, their great-great-great-grandfather was one of the richest people in the world, and they can squander away their money in less than 70 years or 100 years, you best believe that if you're not one of the richest people in the world and you have less than that, you can squander it away in less time, right? So just think about this. And that's why you don't want your taxes siphoned off. You want to use paying less taxes so you can build your wealth. All right. So let's see where we're going. We're going to wrap this up here shortly, ladies and gentlemen. All right. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Here we are. Conversation are always moving in the direction of making money. Correct, Eric? Yep. That's it, Charlie. You know, that's how it goes. Lots of love, wealth people. You got to be in the inner club. That's right. Because they're not hanging out. See, that's what people don't understand. Every now and then you will find somebody that's, I'll use high net worth. A person that's a high net worth individual might be hanging out. He could be on the subway next to you, but he's not going to talk to you because they don't know you and you don't know them. The person could be riding their bike along next to you in the park, but ordinary person, right? So they have no reason to talk to you and you have no reason to talk to them. So that's why sometimes put yourself in certain environments, there's an advantage. Vanderbilt has a good university in Tennessee still. Med school. That's correct. That is actually named after the Vanderbilts. You are right, Curtis Davis. You are correct. Anderson Cooper knew his anchor mother is a Vanderbilt. Yes. Gloria Vanderbilt. And if you know anything about, if anybody's in the clothing, Gloria Vanderbilt had the fashion jeans in the 80s when clothing was a thing where you could sell jeans for $300, $400, $500, and not the ones with the holes in it. Regular old jeans that you buy for $20, they used to be able to sell because they had her Gloria Vanderbilt on the back and stitching or something. Yeah. Gloria Vanderbilt was a fashion icon. And the funny part is, because of the Vanderbilts not trying to hold on to their wealth, she actually did a clothing empire. And of course, in the 80s, clothing where people were spending an exorbitant amount of money went out of fashion. So then, of course, her clothing line kind of went down as well. But yes, he's a Vanderbilt. Eric, are you getting any photos, videos of Vistakana construction? Yes, I am. I received a photo of Counter Rock start construction today. It's turning into be amazing, especially the first floor swim ups. Yeah. Victor Marrero, I hear you. Everything I'm seeing from all projects is awesome. Awesome. In fact, I got something today myself from Primavera 2. So some of you don't know, speaking of wealth, speaking of taxes, we are, Victor Marrero is bought in Punta Cana at the Counter Rock, in Counter Rock Galaxy in Punta Cana. I bought also at Primavera 2 Residences. And most people here will know when I say the name Simon Residences 2 condo project is within Primavera 2. I got something today that I did not know, because on the Primavera 2 Residences, they don't have a master plan. I have a master plan, but it was only for the first quarter of the project. They didn't even have sketched out where the social areas are going to be. So today I got something that I couldn't believe. They started on social areas, and they started talking about there's a gym there. There's a fitness center there, which is two separate things somehow. They said there's a pool there. They said that there's some other fields or something. It was in Spanish, so I really can't translate what it was really saying. But there's a social area in Primavera 2 that they didn't show on any master plan. So now I got a little bit more excited, because I was like, well, wait a minute, this is very interesting. So that means if they're building one here in the first phase, there's only about 15 to 20 buildings, villas built right now. And this is just the first 10% of the project, and they're putting one right in right now. I'm like, that's a good sign, because they're supposed to have at least two more areas in the back or near where the Simon's residences are. So I'm like, oh, this is good. This is very good. But yeah, I've been seeing a lot of stuff. They're moving right along now. Now that this COVID scenario has changed up a little bit, they're full steam ahead. Even though I did not buy at the beach, I get updates from the beach as well, because I still think that's a cool place just for rentals only. It's not so much where you have amenities, but that pool or that lagoon's going to be kind of cool. But again, it's in a downtown location. And by the way, the downtowns, the new one came out. It came out. Unfortunately, everything's sketchy. I can't really pull up the PDFs and all that. But here's the price: $73,000 for a studio, $107,000 for a one-bedroom, $93,000 for another one bedroom. And for what I understand, that one bedroom for $107,000, it's like a lock off or something. So I haven't seen the configuration. So they told me it's 2 units in one. I'm like, what? Okay, I like that. It's not a 2-bedroom though, but I'm thinking it's like a 1-bedroom den where you might have a bed that folds up and folds down maybe or something. I don't know. I haven't seen the plans. And then they have a 2-bedroom for $130? So that's downtown, ladies and gentlemen. It finally came out. I'm going to have to go to the Noriega site and find out about it. She was the creator of Gloria Vanderbilt jeans. Exactly. That's right, Charlie. Exactly. Thank you for that info. That's it. It's true. The wealthy parents put money in trust because the kids could be slack or not want the business or have financial IQ. Exactly. And that's what happened to the Vanderbilts. All trust fund kids, they didn't want to preserve nothing. Experience, excess cash, expertise, 3 keys to wealth. Curtis Davis, Mr. Financial, dropping the gems. That's it, ladies and gentlemen. Sounds like a great property. Oh, yeah, it's a great property. All of the properties are pretty cool. Every idea can be taken from vision to real project, but it's willpower and persistence. Thank you so much, Curtis Davis. That's it exactly. That's how we do it, ladies and gentlemen. That's how everybody has to do it. Nobody gets to start and finish at the same time or the same place. So what happens is some people take 20 years to reach their destination. Some people are fortunate enough to only do it in 3. But anywhere from 0 to 100 years is how long it could take for a person to get to where they want to be. But you have to keep building stepping stones along the way, right? All right, ladies and gentlemen, I have links down below for those free shares of stock from Robinhood and Webull. In case you just joined us, please smash that like button. And I also have $10 from Coinbase if you haven't downloaded that yet. By the way, I also left off the Celsius Network talk because mostly all of you know about the Celsius Network, where you can earn interest on your crypto daily by hodling at Celsius Network. The link is down below. If you send over your first deposit of $400 or more, they give you a free $40 BTC. All right? Pretty simple. Now, the tax portion. Let's get back because a lot of people still may not understand. I have now, let's call it $10,000 of crypto over at Celsius Network. I want to borrow $2,500. I don't want to withdraw $2,500 because I'd have to pay tax if I withdraw it and take the money out of the account and put it in my hands. That means I got to pay tax on that $2,500. But instead, we not pay tax. We borrow $2,500 from Celsius Network at 1%. That's right, 1% up to 36 months. You pay interest only until your last payment is when you pay the full amount due. And you can go up to 36 months. That's beautiful. So now you have $2,500 borrowed, non-taxable. You use that $2,500 and you go buy an asset. That's going to generate you some revenue, some money coming in the door. You use some of that money to pay back the loan, prepay the loan, if you will, because you have profits coming in. All right. And so you can escalate it up from there. Right. So if you had 50,000, right, 25% of 50,000 still gets you 1%. That's how you pay yourself and you end up being the bank. And that's how you do not have to pay tax. Right? Simple. A lot of you already heard me discuss that before, but I just wanted to say for everybody new who may be watching for the first time, that's how you have to do it. Hey, I know Celsius has 3 loan types. Yes. The other loans that I never mention is because at 33%, it starts escalating. It starts being it's like 6 or 7 or I don't even know 6, 7, 8% is what you're going to owe. I like 1%. That's why I always talk about the 25%. And you can borrow up to 50%. But if you do 50%, you're going to be in double digits on interest. So if you're going to borrow 50% of your asset, you better be putting it into something that's going to generate you some revenue instantly. Not some guess, not some taking out 50% of your asset as a loan and sitting there going, I'm going to start a business. And you have no idea how much revenue you're going to create over the next 3 months. I suggest you buy assets that you know you're having money coming in because you want to use that asset to pay back that loan as quickly as possible. Because double-digit interest rates, those aren't good on a loan, ladies and gentlemen. So you got to have that revenue coming in. So that's right. He's exactly right. In fact, I think he put it in 50, 30, 20. Yeah. It's 50, 33, 25%. That's a breakoff for the loans. Or you can borrow that percentage against your assets. And that's why we've been talking about getting assets in 2021. Because if assets pay you and inflation kicks in, then you're going to be getting paid in the higher inflation money. All right. So my $1,000 can only buy so much in 2021. But in 2022, I'm not going to be making $1,000 revenue. I get to charge more prices for my service or products. And so let's just say I'm going to charge somebody $1,200 now, because that equals the $1,000 cost now. So therefore, I get $1,200, but the money that I owe is still $1,000. That's why you lock in loans now before inflation. I'm talking about not the Celsius loans. I'm referring to refinancing. Well, not refinancing your house, but yeah, refi. And I don't really mean refi and take money out. I mean like refi, if you can, to get a lower rate. That's all I'm saying. Not really to go, an extra years or anything like that, but just to make sure that if you have let's call it a 4.5, and you can get down to a 2.9, I would get down to a 2.9, 2.75 if possible. All right. Because when inflation kicks in and it's 13, 14%. And then if banks banks might even give out interest of some sort. And that would be funny as hell when they start giving out 2, 3% and people have loans that are less than 3%. That's going to be beautiful. So it's probably going to come down the pike, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, borrow least or borrow highest if the deal is sure. Exactly. That's a good rule right there. But all I'm saying is if you're going to borrow against your assets, you pretty much, whether it's the low or high, you want to make sure that you have revenue coming in. You don't really want to borrow it just on the come. You want to sit there and borrow and go, okay, I know I have 500 or 1,000 a month coming in, so I can service this debt and even pay off early. Because remember, if you borrow on Celsius Network, you don't earn interest daily anymore for that, whatever the crypto is you're borrowing against. For the other crypto in your account, you'll still earn interest. But if you borrowed on BTC, then the BTC that you borrowed against earns no daily interest. But if you had Link or DOT or Ethereum or ETC or whatever, you still are going to earn interest on those other cryptos. All right. So that's how simple it is. And that's how you can avoid paying taxes. So we're an hour and 49 minutes in. So we're almost going to wrap it up here. And thank you so much, everybody, for being here. I know people don't like to talk about taxes, but hey, it's Stop Struggling Now Nation, right? We have to get you guys up to par on everything that has to do with financial literacy. Because the more you know, the more you learn, the more you look up, the more you study, then you can figure out what is the best course for you. And in turn, maybe your family. So these are the kind of things where people can control their destiny for generations. All right. So with all that said, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. And please like, subscribe, and click the bell below so you get the latest updates. And I know it's hard out here. And that's why we have to talk about taxes. We have to talk about how you can save your money and use it for investment purposes. Not to go out here and party, not to go out here and just throw it down the tubes, but actually save your money and say, hey, get that $5 here, get that $3 there. Like I came out with the new app that we have. Check out the last 2 videos where there's a new app that puts it in the pocket for you so you can spend your money the right way. One Finance. I don't have the link down below in the description, but I'm going to add it after this video, where now you get a paycheck and now the money gets dispersed into your little pockets. So then that way your bills are handled, your investment money's handled, everything is handled, so you don't have to worry anymore. The CEO of your life. And with all that said, keep your head up, keep moving, and I'm out.